front view. We're going to go to Create, Polygon Primitives, and Cylinder. We'll turn the cylinder 90 degrees in the x-axis, and we're going to set the subdivision axis to 3. You'll see that makes like a triangle. If you want to, you can scale it down here so it looks more like a play symbol. Doesn't matter if you want to do that or not. So once you've done that, then we're going to move it. We'll hold down X and we'll snap. We'll move it about 3 or 4 grid squares off. All right, and then we're going to go to Modify, Freeze Transforms, Edit, Delete by Type, and History. Once I've done that, I'm going to name this Controller 01. I'm going to duplicate that, move that to the center, duplicate it again, move it to the center, and if you're having trouble seeing, you can always turn on Wireframe on Shaded. Once I've done that, I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to go to Modify, Freeze Transforms, and I'm going to create some colors for these so that we can see them easily. So let's go ahead and open up our Hypershade window. Hypershade is our texture editor. We can go to Window, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. I have it set to the H key. And we're going to make 3 Lamberts. So Lambert is just that flat shaded material. We'll just hit Lambert, Lambert, Lambert. We'll go in here and call this red. Select here, we'll call this green. Select here, we'll call this blue. Okay, and let's change the colors of them. So click on your color. The red, of course, we're going to make red. The green, change it to a green. And the blue, we'll change it to a blue. Now you can either select the object and you can right click on it and say assign material to selection, or you can select the object and you can drag it directly out onto it. So you can select your red, green, and blue. All right, once that's done, let's go ahead and close up our Hypershade. We're going to make 3 objects to go along with these controllers. So we're going to go to Create, Polygon Primitives, and we're going to go to Torus. Torus is like a donut shape. Rotate that 90 degrees in the X. Scale that down just a little bit. Move it over to be on top of this controller, and then we'll move it up. Once we've done that, we will freeze transforms and delete by type history. Next, let's create a sphere. We'll move that up. Modify freeze transforms. Last but not least, we'll create a cube. Move this up. Move this over. Modify freeze transforms. Let's bring up our Hypershade one more time. All right, and let's drag our red out here so that it is associated with the controller, green here, and blue here. I'll call this Object 01, Object 02, I can spell, and Object 03. So now that I've got those 3 objects, let's go ahead and go through the different types of animation that we're going to use on this. So the first one is a direct connection between the controller and a channel on the object. So important naming. When I talk about channels, it's these translate, rotates, and scales that are on objects by default. You can also create your own channels. So all of these objects have channels, and we're going to utilize the rotation channel on this one to change the rotation channel on this. To do that, we're going to go to Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor. Bring that up. You'll notice that there's a from and to. The left side now, because this is pointed this direction, you can also click and reverse it. The left side is going to be the controller. The right side is going to be the controlled. So with this object selected, you just reload left. Then you select your object and reload right. So controller, controlled. You can see the names of the objects at the bottom. I'm going to go down about halfway, and you'll see that there's this rotate channel here. We're going to open it up with the plus next to it, and it exposes the rotate channels. We're going to click on Rotate Z. Now you'll notice when I click on a channel, it shows only the channels that can be matched up with that. If I want to open any of these, I have to open up the little plus by them. So I want to find rotate over here and open that up. And I want to use the rotate Z of the controller to control the rotate Y of the object. So when I click in it, you'll see that it creates a connection. It italicizes the font of these two. And it makes the channel yellow, indicating that it is controlled by a direct connection. Let's close that down. And now you can see that if I go into my rotate Z and I rotate this object in Z, that it is controlling the Y rotation of the object above it. If I click on this object and I try to rotate it, it won't rotate. I have to control it using this object. Okay, once that's done, we're going to control the scale of the sphere with this controller. We're going to do that using a new method. It's called set-driven-key. So make sure you switch up to animation up here. You're going to go into key and then go down to set-driven-key and set. Let's bring our set-driven-key window up. You can see it's much smaller than the connection editor. This also has a driver and driven listed. Same thing as the connection editor. This is the one that's going to be doing the controlling. This is the one that's going to be controlled. By default, the object that you have selected is brought into the driven channel, but the controller is what we want in the driver channel. So we click load driver. Then you click on the sphere and you say load driven. We're going to select the channel that we want to use for the driver up here, and that's going to be rotate Z. And it is going to control scale X, scale Y, and scale Z. So let's go ahead and key that. Now what I'm doing is I'm using the idea or the concept of animation, but I'm not using the animation timeline. It is creating curves. If I open up my graph editor, you can see it created a key. This first key that I create is my neutral key. It's usually the first one is the neutral state. In this case, I'm telling it that with the controller rotated at 0, I want the scale of the sphere to be 1. So I'm going to now create a second key so that Maya understands what I want it to do. I'm going to change the rotate Z. And if I rotate it this way, you can see that that's in the positive direction. So I'm going to type 180. And then I'm going to select the sphere and I'm going to change the scale to 0. With these channels still selected, I just hit key. And you can see now that it makes a curve on my object that ramps the scale from 1 to 0. Let's select these keys and make them linear. And now let's close this down and we're going to rotate, and you can see that now the rotation of this object is controlling the sphere within the bounds that I just set. If I try to rotate my object beyond 0, it does not affect the scale of the sphere because I've only given it parameters from rotating from 0 to 180 degrees. Okay, last but not least, we're going to use expressions, which is a very nice scripting language, to control the rotation of this box with the rotation of this control. So to do that, we're going to go into Window, Animation Editors, Expression Editor. And you can see that I have the controller selected. The reason is I just want to copy out the name of this channel. So click on Rotate Z, select this channel name, and copy, Control C. Now select your object, click on Rotate Z. We want to control the Rotate Z with Rotate Z. I'm going to click down on my expression. I'm going to paste the name of the channel from the controller. Then I'm going to copy the name of this. I'm going to hit Control C, and then I'm going to paste it in front of the name. Then I'm going to hit equals. So right now I'm telling it that I want the object 3 rotation Z to be equal to that of the controller 3 rotate Z. Hit create, and you can see it now creates an expression. It didn't give me any errors. So now I can select the controller and I can rotate, and you can see that it can rotate that object. Expression connections also give us very powerful tools because we can use mathematical calculations to enhance or change the output. So let's go ahead and at the end here type times, that's the asterisk, 5, and hit edit. You can see it did not give me any errors. So now I can click on this object, I can rotate it, and you can see that even the slightest rotation here is rotating the upper object a lot faster. Let's set that back to 0. And let's just go ahead and select all of our controllers, set a key on the first frame, go to frame 20, rotate them to 180 degrees, and let's just play through and see what we get. So you can see now all the different ways that we can control objects using the different animation tools in Maya. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.